The Mets are rich, but they are not going to negotiate against themselves. So there's the news. You've got 2 years opt out after year one. He had the choice of the 371 or the 254. You're like, why would he take 254? That's less than Christian Walker even got in guaranteed years on the market. Walker, of course, did 3 years, 60. But Kratz, he gets 30 years or 30 million in year one. So he gets the most money in this case and then can hop back into the market. I think about the Chris Davis situation from years back when the Orioles were either the only ones or definitely by far the highest bidders, and he wanted to go back there. But that one lasted for a while and he got even more money out of it. And I think the Mets were like, yeah, we're not going to play like that. They did have to push the chips to the table and say, if you really have something at a larger level, we're okay with Mark Vientos at first base. You always have to have that risk involved. And clearly David Stearns was okay with that.
It's a bold move. But it's also like, you got to think, how many first basemen have ever been paid $30 million a year to play exclusively first base?
Two.
So
do you know who they are?
He got it was
Lotto?
Pete. And there's only one other. Pete, I'm counting Pete. There's only one other that's gotten 30 million in a season. Anyone know? AJ, do you know?
30 million in one season?
Like an AAV of 30 million or more, because
it's got to be Freddie. Is it Freddie?
No, it's not Freddie.
No, I thought it was
Prince
Albert.
Fielder?
Miggy.
Oh, Miggy.
Miggy's at 31 a year on that last deal, and Pete, if you're just saying he's going to get this 1 year, is getting 30, which is the second most ever for a free agent first baseman in one season.
And Jim Bowden's coming on later. He said Scott goes in like three different wavelengths. Like he wants the longest term, he wants the largest overall contract, he wants some type of AAV. Now he can say, hey, I got Pete, the second most ever for a single season, second most AAV for a single season for a first baseman, which pushes all first basemen salaries up. So good for Pete in that sense. And, I think that's where the whole choosing the 2-year deal over the 3-year deal, because both had opt-outs after the first year, but the other one would have given them $27 million.
AJ, do you think Pete's okay after all of this? Psychologically?
I think he's fine psychologically. I think he's disappointed though in what he got. I mean, 1 year 30 is great, but we were going in this offseason talking about him getting like 200 million, remember? And he got 30 for 1 year. Now guess what he's got to do? He's got to go out and bang this year, and he's got to absolutely rake this year if he wants to get back into free agency next year. Now, I think if you look at the free agents next year, it's a little bit of a weaker class, but he's a year older, and first basemen just don't get paid.
And there's competition too. Next year's Vladdy Jr., Naylor. I haven't gone through the deeper end of the list, but there are going to be other free agents.
I don't think next year's class is as good. I know for Scott Boras is not, but I don't think it's as good as it was this year. This year was a pretty solid class.
Yeah, it was. And the numbers game, Todd Father, since we spoke last night. So he needed to beat 6 years, 137.5 million, even though the offer was bigger. You got to count the 20.5 that he got from this past season when we're comparing the offer from 2 years ago, which was 150, whatever. Okay. So now when we factor in the 30 million he's making this year, he needs to get to 5 years, 107.5 for basically the rest of his career to not regret taking the deal from 2 years ago. You know what? It sounds crazy, but it's actually still possible. Christian Walker's 3 or more years older than him, and he got 60. So if Pete goes out and crushes it, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he can get himself a little 5-year 110 piece and be good. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, he can get close to that.
Now, when they gave him that offer, who was Boras his agent at the time, or was he not?
No. Boras wasn't his agent, and Stearns wasn't running the Mets front office. Very different.
So you can't even say anything about, if I'm Pete Alonso complaining about, well, you were my agent then, why did you tell me this? So it's that back and forth battle, man. I've been there before, but with not as much money, don't get me wrong. But, when some people are saying, no, this is what you're supposed to get, and then people are offering you 2 of the same amounts from other teams, and it's by far not even close of what you are supposed to get from what, people are telling you. And it's frustrating. In the back of his mind, he's happy. He's glad. He's set for life, of course. But, knowing Pete, he'll be fine. But, there's still going to be a little morsel in the back of your mind saying, did I get the old screw here, So hopefully he blocks that out and goes and plays. But everybody's human. People are human. They're allowed to be upset over things, but it's that factor of understanding. Listen, didn't work out, but I'm still getting paid. I'm still playing for the team I wanted to, and hopefully I go out and have a really good year so I can shove it in their face and say, you know what? Yeah, you want me back? Guess what? 2-3 other teams want me for this price. I'm out of here. You know what I mean? Hopefully, we'll see what happens.
AJ, there's two things I want to push your way from that. One is if you go 3 years ago, Pete Alonso had a 146 OPS plus. That's dominance, monster, top 10 bat. The 2 seasons since then, 123, 123, 23% better than league average. Very good, very solid.
Yeah.
But it's not the 146. Same with, so they're comparing Pete to Christian Walker, even though there's an age difference, and saying Christian Walker's OPS plus comps the last 3 years are 125, 122, 121. So they're like, you're basically the same bat, and Walker is the sickest, if not one of the top first base gloves in the game. Fangraphs WAR the last 3 seasons has Walker at 10.8, Pete at 8.7. I'd rather have Pete, but I'm just saying this is what plays against him. And then he goes back. And I also want you to give me your thoughts on this part, because actually the spiciest part of last night's show that we did breaking news was Eric Kratz saying, cool, welcome back, Pete, but the Mets are a third place team.
Well, that's Kratz's homerism coming through. So we know Kratz isn't going to give the Mets any credit. Let's not forget that. We know he's going to go full homerism. I can't argue with him actually on that one, because I think it's going to be an interesting run. I think it's going to be an interesting run in the NL East, depending on who stays healthy, which pitching staff stays the healthiest. But as far as the Christian Walker thing goes, the numbers are the numbers, and that's what teams look at now. You can say he's a great clubhouse guy, and man, he really fits in. He's going to help your young guys. But teams go, his OPS plus and his WAR is less than Christian Walker. Why should we pay him more? The only team that he means more than those numbers to are the New York Mets, because no other team knows Pete Alonso. The Mets know Pete Alonso. So again, he wanted to be in New York. The fans wanted him in New York, and he's back for 1 year. Could be 2. I mean, unless he just has a disaster year, he's going to opt out and try again. So it's a 1-year deal for Pete. He got $30 million. Good for him. Good luck. It'll be a good year to hit 50 homers again.
Todd, where are we at with the Mets?
Looking at the projected lineup, I know we could pop that up there.
Yeah.
If you're looking top 5 guys, you had a bottom of the lineup that, whoa, I don't know. From the years past, and Jeff McNeil, I talked about, he needs to pick it back up a little bit. If he's the Jeff McNeil old, you could pencil him in for another good year. Winker, Alvarez, and Siri, you got to step up. Listen, Mark Vientos had a really good year. I'm not knocking the guy, but it's only 1 year. Let's see if he can repeat that too as well. They do have some guys that are coming up that have played before too. That Kratzy was talking about. I'll let him get his skin in the game too here. But if you're looking at this lineup, it's an okay lineup. It's half a good lineup at the end of the day, and they're going to have to work their butts off. And, they have good starting pitching. Their relief, they need some more relief. They need some better relief pitching too as well. So there's a lot that still needs work done. Is Steve going to go out there and get some more guys? I don't know. I think they've done a lot this offseason. But, yeah, it looks like an okay team to me. They're gonna make some noise, but they're going to need some help in the bottom of that lineup.
Yeah, you hit it. You hit everything on the head. They have the depth to me in the lineup. They don't have guys like you. You just can't run a team. It's kind of like their starting rotation. You can't run a team on the fact of, well, if this guy, I hope he does. I can't. He should do this. Like you look at McNeil's projections. McNeil's projected at 100 OPS guy, 100 100 OPS plus guy. You look at Jose Siri's a below average hitter. You look at Alvarez. To me, Alvarez's value, he should hit 8th the entire season. His value is all behind the dish, the energy that he brings. If he hits 20 homers for you behind the dish, you're talking about an all-star catcher. Like, there's a lot of potential in the bottom of the lineup, but the top is definitely solidified. To me, I don't even think the bottom of the lineup is the Achilles heel for them, because I think there's so many guys. I don't think Jesse Winker's going to DH every day. There's so many guys that are going to have an opportunity to get hot and play and win in this team, because this team wants to win. And the biggest issue is going to be how that rotation holds up, because then that'll dictate how the a little bit beleaguered bullpen holds up. If they have to be leaned on all year, the bullpen, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them.
Yeah, I mean, how is AJ Minter going to do? Is Clay Holmes going to be able to kick it in the starting rotation? If not, that's fine. That's actually a really nice bullpen piece for them to be able to have in the mix that I think could be needed. Stanik's back. I mean, they did a lot. They did a lot this offseason. They built a little more outfield depth because they always deal with injuries like a Starling Marte, who's not going to be on the field a ton. It's just that point of the career for him. So we'll see. But I'm with you. I think the starting rotation, just like last year, is the biggest question mark. And last year, the reason that it carried them to the playoffs and then a run is because those dudes had freaking standout seasons. Season of his life for Minaya, Severino, huge bounce back. So can they be the pitching whisperers again? I don't feel the same way about Montas. I think we all have documented that throughout the offseason. So we'll see. But yeah, I like the team. I could easily see them finishing in third, but I do think they're a wild card team at least, and they would be a problem in the playoffs.